our judges. Eugene Sokoloff and Chief Justice Zach Jones were both the best oralists in the last two Moot competitions. And Josh Geltzer is the editor-in-chief of the Yale Law Journal and will be clerking for Justice Stephen Breyer after 2 years. So, take it away.
Okay, we have one case to be heard this afternoon, number 12310, Richard Bellman versus Maria Andrews, counsel for petitioner. Please approach. Mr. Durant, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court. My name is Robert John Durant III, and I'll be arguing for the petitioner today. Ms. Andrews' speech was protected by the First Amendment. 1, because her speech was not disruptive, and 2, because her speech was symbolic. Ms. Andrews' intent was to promote her campaign throughout her school. This is why she initially announced during her April school assembly.
So are you saying that the intent of her message in wearing the tuxedo was as a campaign promotion?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was universally understood as such? My sense from the record was that there was some sort of political statement here, a showing of solidarity for her fellow student whose yearbook picture was omitted.
Yes.
So what was it? It was purely a campaign promotion? Is that your assertion?
Yes, Your Honor. This is like Spence v. Washington, where Spence had multiple meanings, one being the Cambodian bombing, the Kent State shooting, and the Vietnam War. Ms. Andrews' 3 reasons were Ms. Emery Green's photo being removed from her school yearbook, her campaign, her school presidency, and her uncle who helped her by promoting.
Okay, so there's a mixed motive here in terms of the message she is intending to convey wearing a tuxedo. Is it necessary that there be a total nexus between each of those 3 reasons that she had and what her fellow students understand? That is, do they need to understand each one of those 3 aspects of her intent, or simply, as long as they understood one, then that's enough?
Your Honor, as long as they understood one, which was particularized, her message is symbolic.
Counsel, would it make a difference if the only message that they understood was the promotion of her uncle's tuxedo shop? It seems to me that in Tinker and in the other cases, it's important that the message is an important issue of national concern, that it's a political issue. If it's just a commercial issue, would that be different?
Your Honor, the issue about her uncle's tailoring shop, we're not necessarily looking at the issue, but we're looking at the intent. The intent for the promotion was to promote her name throughout her school to help her win her campaign against Kevin Ham.
How are you able to get this much out of the fact that she wore a tuxedo? Isn't clothing always expressive to some extent? We come in, we wear these robes to project a certain image. Is all clothing every day projecting some sort of speech?
Your Honor, the tuxedo was from her uncle's shop. Mr. Andrews needed to stand out because Kevin Ham was a star quarterback. He had good academic grades, and he outmatched Maria in every way. So she thought that wearing a tuxedo would show individualism. She would show that she's different, that she's not the typical girl.
Could the school have a dress code if we hold for you in this case? And could the school say there's an acceptable type of clothing to wear and you can't go outside that boundary? Or would every student who walked in and said, well, I'm just expressing myself, get a pass on the dress code?
Your Honor, Ms. Andrews wore the tuxedo for her school presidency. This is the reason why she wore it. It's not because she just wanted to come to school for any reason, show off. It's because she needed to stand out within her student body.
Yes, but Justice Sokolow's question is, what if a dress code had been in place here? Say, no tuxedos or no distracting clothing. Does that change the case at all?
Yes, Your Honor, it would be different because Maria had prior knowledge not to wear the clothing. She didn't have prior knowledge.
Wasn't there some indication from the teacher that this was distracting, that she wasn't to wear it? Doesn't the record show some kind of warning that she received that this wasn't going to be allowed?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. George told her that her clothing would not be allowed. But then the next day she went to Miss Alvarez's class, Miss Miller's class, excuse me. And Miss Miller told her that because they had a prior meeting on April the 24th, and Miss Albert, they had a discussion about her clothing. Ms. Miller simply would not stand for it and told her to go to the principal's office, where she was later suspended.
So it seems like your notice argument, while certainly a dress code might provide some more notice, she had some notice that this tuxedo wasn't going to fly for some of the faculty members.
Yes, Your Honor, but it was only one teacher who told her that it would not be tolerated. Her chemistry teacher, who observed her passing a note to a student, he stood up for her in the meeting. He says, kids will simply be kids.
Doesn't this set of differences among teachers' reactions speak to the second part of the Spence test, which is what the audience understands about a given piece of active speech? The fact that you have some teachers saying this is kids being kids, others saying this is significant, it's going to disrupt the classroom, does it mean that people are understanding this so differently that we can't find it particularized enough to qualify as symbolic speech under Spence?
Your Honor, each of the teachers had a different meaning, and that meaning was particularized. The chemistry teacher, Mr. Alvarez, he believed that kids would be kids. She was doing this to stand out within her student body, which goes back to her campaign slogan, see the big picture. Ms. Miller had it out for her because she took out Amber's green photo from the yearbook, and under her caption it said, photo unavailable. And she thought Ms. Andrews was doing this to spite her. And Mr. George simply just wanted a classroom so he could get through a lesson.
So is the intent of the school in play here? It sounds like part of the problem with this situation is the backstory, the things that these teachers are bringing to this situation. How much should we inquire into why a given teacher or a given principal wants this out of the classroom?
Excuse me, Your Honor, can you rephrase your question?
Sure. We've talked a bit about what Ms. Andrews' intent was in wearing the tuxedo. To what extent should we concern ourselves with the intent of the principal in getting the tuxedo out of the classroom, whether it was retaliatory, whether it showed some sort of bias, or whether it was just to keep order in the classroom?
Principal Building suspended Ms. Andrews on undifferentiated fear. And this fear that she would cause commotion cannot be proven.
Well, surely we're not going to force every school official to, provide an exact basis for. Look, we're judges up here. The last time I was in a classroom was, well, it was a few days ago. But, we haven't been in schools. We're not school experts. We're not trying to be a sort of national school board up here. And we want to be able to defer to the judgment of school officials on the ground. It's pretty clear that, for instance, if students are wearing Confederate flag symbols, that a school can say that's not allowed. And they don't need to prove that there's definitely going to be a disruption. They can sort of rely on sort of their past experience and past judgment and say, this is probably going to create a disruption. I don't understand that this is any different.
Your Honor, Ms. Andrews' disruption is usual. Students text in class, students pass notes in class, but do they get sent to the principal's office? The issues we're addressing is the tuxedo.
Yeah, but that's the past disruption. We're talking about the future disruption that could have been anticipated.
Students laughing, students passing notes, Your Honor, it's not unusual in the school environment. It happens every day.
But couldn't it have spiraled out of control to something that would seriously impede the learning progress of these students as they're studying for their AP exams?
Your Honor, students deciding what to wear and talking about what to wear to school, I don't understand how it can affect the learning environment. Students find things to talk about every day.
So is part of your argument that the school hasn't shown that your client actually caused the disruption, that it's really more of an issue of, as you sort of suggested earlier, kids being kids? And does that really matter? Because if the point is how are other people going to understand the message, then isn't their reaction, no matter what your client intended, the important thing?
Ms. Andrews' attire is not explicit, it is not vulgar, and therefore it should be protected by the First Amendment right.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Durant, you reserved 2 minutes for rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Fountain?